Mike, welcome to Studio 9.
Thank you for having me.
The official studio that if you were here looking at it, if you can see here watching this, it looks like you're in a 50s diner or an operating room.
Both.
Oh, yeah.
A 50s operating room
Yeah,
is what it actually
I don't
looks
know
like.
what was in here before, but this is where we're at. Mike, I want to talk to you about a couple things. So, Mike, you and I share a kind of a bit of a similar story. So you don't know the story about me because we've never really, we've had the chats, but just 30 seconds on me so you can link it back to you.
Okay.
So the last thing I graduated from was 8th grade.
Oh, man.
So I got that, I got a driver's license and a drumming certificate. I'm really good at drumming. That's
Nice.
about it, right? So I didn't finish high school, didn't go to college. I was lucky enough to have a principal in my high school that was like, Stu will be okay, he can stay. I didn't get kicked out.
Nice.
That's literally it. Now, he was actually, my old high school principal was here today to watch the conference. He's retired a long time ago.
Oh, cool.
He always comes out and is like, I want to see what Stu's doing. And I'm like, I was your worst student. He's like, no, in a lot of ways you were my most rewarding student.
That's cool.
I kind of wasn't fit to the system, right?
Yeah.
Schooling is all about fitting the system, right? The mold every kid learns or whatever. So why I tell you that is because I love your story. And we're going to talk about your story a bit. But I love your story about, you have a t-shirt you wear a lot. It's your motto, the misfits, right? Mm-hmm. Tell me about that motto.
Yeah, so the motto is the future belongs to the misfits. And I think for me, it's about the people who truly make a change. They were, you see the things about like they're misunderstood and people don't appreciate what they're doing. But the truth is like, it's scary. Like going first by yourself, no one behind you, like believing in it more than anyone else does or believing in it before anyone else does. Like that's scary. And like, I think the thing about a misfit is like, they're not worried about what everyone else is doing. They're worried about what's next. And they're worried about how to push the status quo and how to change things and how to progress things. Sometimes it has a negative connotation, sometimes it has a positive connotation, but the best leaders on the planet almost always were the misfits, like the misunderstood ones and the ones who were told they were crazy at first, but they still persevered and pushed on. And so I got a tattoo that says the future belongs to the misfits, and I let a high school kid give me that tattoo in his garage while his principal was looking. It was like one of the coolest tattoo stories that I've got. I wasn't nervous, he was terrified. Like his hand was shaking and his principal was like, no, you got it, like cheering him on.
Yeah, like
but
what font is this?
Oh yeah,
It's
totally.
called Scared.
Yeah, I was like,
My
exactly. I was like, you can push a little bit harder, and the kid was just, but he was stoked.
Yeah.
But I truly believe that like having that courage to go first is what leadership is about. And I think it's also having the courage to recognize when somebody else has a really good idea and you hop on board and you like back them up, even if it is a crazy one. But that's what Misfits is all about to me.
I think so. The Apple commercial, the old Apple commercial, here's the crazy ones.
Yeah, exactly. It was
they're the only ones that ever make a difference, are the crazy ones, right?
Exactly.
The misfits. So here's my question for you is because and why I love seeing you speak. I've seen you a number of times, we've chatted a number of times. I love hanging out with you, and it's not a fanboy thing at all. I never before I know that.
I got friends and I got family.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's it. I don't have a Mike Smith poster over my bed, which would be weird. But anyway, my question is, so like there's so many people out there, like education is so pigeonholed in this is how you do it, right? You want to open a school. Is the school for me and you, like us, our type of people? Like what do you see that school being for? Is it just for those that don't fit in, or is it for what is it? Tell me about the school.
And so the school that we are going to open and we are opening it's for that kid who I have this belief about generational poverty, and I think that the way we can end generational poverty is through technology. And so if you were to survey an urban area and even like rural areas, like way out in the middle of nowhere, some of the commonalities is lack of Wi-Fi, lack of smartphones, and lack of technology. And then as the school systems move to more like tablet and one-to-one, a tablet's great. If you don't have internet at home, what's the point? And so if you survey a low-income neighborhood, you'll find out that it's less Wi-Fi access, less computer access. The conference we were at today, if I said raise your hand if you have a smartphone, 90% of the hands would have went up. If I said keep your hand up and raise your other hand if you have a computer or a tablet, 90% of those hands would have went up again.
Yeah.
You do that in an urban setting, when I say raise your hand if you have a smartphone, not that many hands go up.
Right.
And so the technology is the way out. Because the truth is, the world doesn't care where you grew up if you can code. The world doesn't care where you grew up if you can take amazing photos or videos, if you can design a website, or if you can, whatever.
You can be anywhere.
You can do it from anywhere, you can start anywhere, but it's like technology kind of became this great equalizer where you don't have to get networked in. Your dad's dad doesn't have to have started this train where you get to be successful because your family was. And this school Nebraska took a lot of immigrants. We took a lot of Sudanese, we took a lot of Syrian immigrants, and so we have a lot of kids from the Sudan or from parts of South or Central America who have found their way to Nebraska, and now they're kind of our community.
Right.
And for these kids, graduating high school is not even like an expectation because their parents didn't come from here, and so they don't even understand the importance or value of it. And I look at these kids and think, We all love to talk about grit. They've got more of it than most of the kids that I'm ever going to meet have. They've got more courage than most of these kids can fathom, and it's like you combine courage and grit with like skill and opportunity, and you've got somebody who can do some seriously cool things someday. And so most artists come from a broken place. Most of the most successful people had this overcome story. I look at these kids who come to my skate park every day and think they are primed for that story. We've just got to give them opportunity, and so that opportunity is going to come through technology, and that's why we're starting a school. And so it is for the me and you, but it's also for the kid who maybe grew up, just loving technology and doesn't quite fit in schools, and coding might be his thing, or film or photography might be his thing. And so, yeah, we're going to be really specific about who we choose.
What's the grades? What, like is it high school age?
Yeah, high school.
How many kids are you going to have?
I think it'll be interesting to see, as I'm always like crawl, walk, run, sprint kind of a guy.
Yeah.
And so this one's like a scary one for sure. When you start a high school and you take a kid's education as your responsibility, like there comes a lot of responsibility with that. And so we're going to start with like 2025. I think the tops I'd like to max it out at is like 150 kids if I could. I think that's a smart number, just considering the demographic and like where we are.
These kids, this will be like a legit high school education for them?
Yeah, so they'll partner up. The University of Nebraska has an online high school. Everybody loves to talk about high school. They have a conversation, they think public, charter, or private. And the truth is that fourth little outlier that nobody's talking about is the public school system doesn't have any power over kids' education.
No.
The parents do. Your parents are the ones who decide where to put you into school and where not to put you into school. If a parent decides to drop their kid out and homeschool them, your principal has no say. Your superintendent has no say. And so your parents do. And so I just need parents to trust that the education their kids are going to get with us is as good or more valuable than the one that they're currently getting.
Right.
And most of our kids would give anything to be at our place all day long. And now we're giving them that opportunity, but they've got to go to school there first. And most of these parents are going to be stoked. We're like the one place their kids fit or their kids love to be. And so we've got that relationship with mom already.
So there's people listening, the vast majority probably are not in Nebraska, right?
Right.
And they're in schools. So what's the one thing that, if you could do one thing in schools, if you could change one thing in public school system, what would you do?
This is
Maybe you can't do one thing. I don't know.
Right,
like,
right. But I want to preface with what I'm about to say with, I love teachers. I love education. I love what it stands for. Tell me a successful industry where people can work for 3 to 5 years, check all the boxes, and then they're untouchable at that job. It doesn't exist.
Right.
And so that is where complacency is born. And I'm not saying that teachers are terrible. I'm not saying teachers are bad. The vast majority of teachers are incredible. But the truth is, every job I've ever had, I didn't get 3 years to get tenured in, and then I could basically, without a major failure, like performance isn't based on your kids' test scores.
Yeah.
Performance is based on the passion you show up to work with every day.
Right.
And teachers have been beat up for a long time. And I think that I'm starting to see that passion slip because no one's out there talking about solutions. Everyone's talking about problems. And I think that's where, if I was a teacher, I'd feel pretty beat up because it doesn't feel like anything's enough.
Yeah.
But I think that's one thing I would definitely change. And another thing too is the model itself, like that doesn't mimic anything that is a real world applicable thing today. Like what exists where you sit down, you read something, you write about it, you turn it in and you get a paycheck back. Like that doesn't exist. And like the system around it doesn't exist. But working in groups and working on your laptop and like being in a co-working space, that is what people do today. Working with people on Skype that are in another country or another city, that is what people do for work today. And those experiences need to be mimicked more in the classroom setting.
What do you tell a kid that, they can't come to your school, they can't come to an event like we just ran today, they can't do so? What do they do at home? How do they?
So one of the things that we have at our warehouse, the Bay, is we have a collective. So there's this art collective, and we're doing artist in residencies for a month. And so we'll have a month of coding where someone will come in and teach coding or teach augmented reality or teach, graphic design or photography, whatever it is. It'll be something in the digital space or tech space. And so we have these artist in residencies where kids can come and get a really high level experience. They can dive in. The place is open, 6 days a week where they can start to cultivate their passions for technology. But if a kid doesn't make it in, it's probably because where they're at in life is giving them a few more opportunities than where someone else is at. And I think that our kids are going to have to understand that, and parents are going to have to understand that, as this school isn't for everybody, it's for the right people.
Right.
And so we're going to be really diligent, but that will be my biggest issue is there are going to be a lot of kids that want to go that aren't going to be able to go. I would love to go back in high school.
I want to go.
I
didn't graduate from high school,
totally.
so I'll go back.
I got you honorary degree.
Seriously?
Yeah, we got you.
That's
Come hang
awesome.
out for a while. We'll get you that honorary degree.
Will.
It'll be
I
cool.
will.
But yeah, I just think that, I talk a lot about people wish and people talk and people do.
Yep.
And I watched, the minute I started speaking in schools, the amount of conversations that I would have with friends that would be schools are broken and teachers are broken and the system's broken, and everybody loved to point at what was wrong. And I just felt like nobody was going out and trying to create something different.
Yeah.
And so I'm a very much a guy that's like, if I see a problem, like I want to find the solution. And so starting our own school, if 10 kids go and that's all it is, then that's better than just pointing at the problem. Like at least we created somewhat of a solution if it was just for 10 kids. But I truly think that we need more solution-minded people than we need problem-minded people. And I'm just cool being that guy who's going to go for it. If it's 10 or 200, like,
would you want? Could you see yourself ever having campuses other places?
that's the goal. So the dream for me is to create the
like
blueprint.
real, like legit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The
Not
goal
just
was
online. I know you're doing the online
totally,
stuff.
yeah.
But like something that's like,
Yeah, the goal has always been if I can create the blueprint, create the model, I can give that to communities and say, hey, here you go.
Yeah,
Take it,
everything you
tweak it, whatever you need, it's all
Yeah.
right here. Or if they're like, hey, we want this to be an extension of what you do, and we open up a bay in Toronto or a bay in Vancouver or Seattle or Chicago or wherever, like it's gotta be the right fit for us and for the community. But if nothing else, I've created a blueprint that if I can do it, literally anybody can do it. And if I can get community support, anybody can get community support.
Right.
So I don't think I'm special or unique in like what I've done. I think I just went first, and now I'm showing people how to get there.
So okay, let's change topic a bit. Like, so one of the things that we're focusing on is the model is you go to high school, you go to college, you go to university. That's what you do, right? You get a degree, you get a job. That's the process, right? And there's like there's a certain amount of like, you're not successful unless you have this degree or this diploma in your hand. Like that's how you measure success in North America.
Yep.
A lot of kids aren't going that path. A lot of kids don't want to go that path.
Totally.
What do you say to the kid who's a senior, who's a 12th grade kid, who is completely, now I'm not saying that they're not academic, they're probably pretty smart, but they just don't see themselves, maybe they don't see themselves going to a 4-year degree. They don't see themselves wanting to move away. Like they don't know, like school's not for them.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't want to lump it in saying because they're not able to learn or there's something wrong with them or academically.
Right.
It's not for them. So either or. It's like just those 12th grade. What do you think for kids like what do you say to kids in 12th grade trying to decide what to do next?
Yeah, and I think college was a space where you had to access higher learning. You could access information. You can pay $99 today and take a master class and have a famous actor or athlete or someone talk to you about grit. Serena Williams can teach you a 4-hour course on how to like be dedicated. That didn't exist in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s or the 90s or early 2000s. It does today. And so what I would say is a couple things. One, we've sold kids on a path, and the path has always been, and I've said this for a long time, we sold kids on, I always call it the educational triangle. I literally made this up. There's zero research behind the triangle. It was just a shape. But if you think about a triangle, like what's at top is like the valuable part, right? And we've told kids, most important thing you can think about is what job you're going to get someday. Like the what do you want to be when you grow up conversation. Then we've told them you pick that as a teenager, which most kids have zero idea because they've never left their town or they don't have a clue, and so they just guess, which is what everyone does. Yeah. So then you go to college on a guess, which is literally what most of us do. You switch your degree 5 or 6 times because those guesses don't pan out. That like A in biology in high school doesn't equal being a doctor. That like A in AP math doesn't equal being an accountant. And you kind of stumble. Then you hit that like junior year of college and you hit the like, oh my God button. Like I have 2 years left to figure this out. So you just decide something. And a lot of people land in like communications or marketing or business administration because it's safe and broad. Then you graduate and you're supposed to then go enjoy your life. So we've said there's 3 buckets. Pick a job, go get good at what you guessed on, and then hopefully you enjoy your life. Any adult listening to this today would tell you that your lifestyle is more important. Like the life that you lead, people quit their job because they want a different lifestyle. It's rarely about just the work. It's almost always about the lifestyle that they've got or that they want. And so what I always tell kids, especially if you're a senior listening to this and you don't know what you want to do, don't think about the job part right now. What I would think about is what lifestyle are you interested in? Do you want to be a competitor? Do you want to be a traveler? Do you want to be an entrepreneur? Do you want to be someone who works with your hands? Do you want to be someone who works with people? Do you want to be someone who works on a computer? Like you don't have to narrow down the job. Just pick like a general lifestyle you're interested in and then have an honest, and this is where most people struggle, have an honest conversation with yourself about yourself. Like what am I good at? Like what am I really good at? Not pretending to be, not like hoping to be, but like truly, like am I a talker? Am I a listener? Am I a great number 2 and I'll never be a number 1? Maybe I'm meant to be like support staff my entire life because that's my skill set and I've got to be okay with that. Like everybody's got to become self-aware and identify like what the heck am I even good at? Because when you pick a lifestyle, whatever that is, then you identify the strengths that you've got, like that natural given ability that you have. Then you can start to say, okay, I want this lifestyle, I've got these strengths. these are all the jobs that exist in that line, and you're going to be so much more successful and so much happier if you're doing things that are in the lifestyle you care about and in your strengths and your skill set. But so many people get romantic about this idea that like, I'm going to go drastically change what I'm good at and drastically change what I care about because I want a paycheck or because I want the allure of what that looks like. And like, I've only been good at a few things in my life: talking, working harder than anybody I know. Those are like a couple things. Social work, and building teams. That is literally all I do. I don't hardly do anything else. I build teams, which is how you grow companies. I'm the guy who says I'll work harder than anyone. I don't expect anybody to work harder than me, just as hard as they can, but I've set the bar really high for what hard work looks like with the organizations I've started. I talk, and I'm good at social work. And that's like what I do. I don't do anything else. And I think most people get really romantic about having somebody else's skill set, and that's where they get stuck, is they never develop their own. And thankfully, I didn't grow up in an Instagram era where I could pay attention to everybody else's life all the time. So I just went out and created one for myself. Like, I knew the 4 things I was good at, and I was like, I'm never doing anything besides these 4 things because I can be great at this. And so I went out and I got great at it. And I think most people, if I can do it, for God's sake, anybody can. And if you can figure out the lifestyle you want and really be self-aware at your strengths, like, you truly can be stoked on the life that you live. And that's why I created Find Your Grind. That's why my friends and I started this whole Find Your Grind movement. The whole thing is we're filming jobs, we're filming lifestyles, we're bringing the real world to the classroom so kids all around the world can access what it means to take the lifestyle you want, the strengths that you've got, and go hunt for a job that you'd be stoked on. And like, I think too many people get caught up in, my mom and dad said this was the path. And I tell kids all the time, I don't know how it works in Canada, but in the States, when you're 18, you're 18. And that's it. You're on your own. You're an adult. You go do you. But too many kids want to rely on their parents at 18, 19, 20, 21. And when I was 18, I was like, it's my time and it's my turn. And I think kids got to take back their like young adulthood a little bit more and stop letting other people tell them who to be. And they got to go get it for themselves.
I heard a stat that said, one of the craziest stats I heard was that the amount of kids getting their driver's license has dropped by like 30 or 40% since 1998.
Yeah.
So in what's that, 20 years? They're not getting driver's licenses. They're not going out with their friends on road trips. They're living through this like little cyber world in their hand.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's kind of a crazy stat to think about. Like, when I was a kid, all I wanted to do when I turned 16 was get my driver's license. I just wanted to drive. I was like, I get to do that. I got a freedom. Right? It was freedom, but that's not happening anymore.
Yeah.
Which is a totally weird stat. What do you say to the kid who's 18 years old, is trying to figure out what to do next? Like, he's just sitting there, it's January of his 12th grade year. He's like, what do I do? I'm
not sure where the line of like either or came. And it's just like, it's marketing. It's just terrible marketing on schools and the adult world. But like, why is the path you either go to school full time or you get a job full time? Like, I don't understand it. There are so many online classes. There are so many online schools where you can literally work a full-time job, take 2, 3, 4 classes online, and start to figure out what you're good at and what you love. Like, work full-time and take a photography class. Work full-time and take a construction class. Work full-time and take a philosophy class. Work full-time and take a religions class. Like, take a course that's going to push you to like think about you if you're struggling. But what happens is kids do I'm going to do a gap year. I'm just going to work. I'm just going to like figure it out, and then I'm going to go do me. And the percentage of kids that graduate high school, say they're going to take that 1 year and figure it out, and then never go figure it out is overwhelming. And I think that for most people, like, it doesn't have to be all one or all the other. Work 3/4 time and take 3 classes. Work half time and take half classes. Like, find a blend that you can afford. And Canada is incredibly affordable if you want to go to college. Like, it's not what it's like in the States, where it's like a huge commitment for some families. Like, chip away at it. And you're 18, you are 19, you're 20. You know how young 20 feels? Think about that. If I knew at 20 what I know now, I'd literally be like the first guy Elon Musk would be putting in his rocket. He'd be like, we need that guy up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but like,
what would you tell your 18-year-old self now, as adult old Mike Smith? What would you tell, if you go back, and everyone asks the question, but like, seriously, you go back at 18 years old as a senior, what do you say to yourself?
I would have literally been like, write down your time. We're going to write it all down right now. We're going to write down the things that you dump your like time buckets right now. I would have circled 3 of those things and been like, stop, and invest in this thing right here, because this thing right here is where the pay dirt is. And I think I invested in kids in college, dude. You know how much of a time waste college can be. Like, it is for some kids, it's like, it's easier than high school, and people don't want to admit that, but like, college in a lot of ways is easier than high school. There's like less tests, less stuff, like less just crap to deal with, but you waste so much time 18 to 22 figuring yourself out. Like people spend so many hours like figuring out how to party. People spend so many hours like watching Netflix and just like kicking it with their friends. People spend so much time playing like FIFA or Fortnite or whatever people play. Like people waste so much time 18 to 22. It's insane. I was no different. I literally used to work out because I thought it would matter. I'd play basketball like 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day. And it was like I could go from averaging 18.5 points a game to 19.1. Like, okay, congrats, like that half a point.
Yeah, way to go. You did
yeah,
it.
exactly.
You
But
did
I
it.
spent so many hours in the gym, like it was gonna change my world. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like there was a bucket, which was like I started volunteering for nonprofits the day I got to college. And if I could have invested like quadrupled down on that, or like 10 times, 10x, 20x the amount of time I spent learning from people in nonprofits, I would have been so much more successful when I started mine. But I cared about hanging out with my friends or playing video games or working out a few more hours. And it was like I could circle all my time buckets. That's why I have people bust out their phones and look at their time, because you can't lie to yourself at that moment. When people pulled out their phones today and you can see their face and they're looking at how many hours they're dumping into something, it's crazy.
What's that process again? Explain how you do
Yeah.
it.
So you take out your phone. This is iPhone instructions.
Yeah,
I
iPhone. So
never
if
had
you're-
the other
if
one.
If you're
Yep.
listening right now, you have an iPhone.
If you have an
do
iPhone,
this.
bust out your phone, click on settings, scroll down a little bit. There's a battery function. You click battery, and in that, it takes a second to load, so let it load. Click on this thing that says last 7 days, and then there's a little clock icon right next to it. You touch that clock icon, and it literally shows you where all your minutes and time went. There's a cool app called Moments, too, if you have one of the other phones. You can download Moments,
One of the
and
other
it'll track where your time goes.
Yeah.
But man, it's crazy how much time people waste. I was guilty of it, too, and I think that I want people to fight to get their time back, and I think that's important.
If you could send out a tweet to the whole world, no, we don't use Twitter anymore. We don't want to use Twitter. Twitter's like crazy. I think of Twitter, I think of only one thing.
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about.
we all know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
So if you could send a text message out to the entire world
Yeah.
with one thought, one message, one like for me, I don't know what mine would be like. Mine would be like, I don't want to suggest it because I don't want to put that in your head. But what would the one thing that you would want to tell everyone?
A dad said this the other day when he was talking about raising his daughters, and he said he tells his daughters all the time, nobody's better than you, and you're better than nobody. And I was like, dang. And he was
That's
like,
good.
that's his mentality. And he was like, I think he's going to raise some pretty cool daughters.
Yeah.
And so I think that there is a huge chunk of people out there who believe that they're better than someone else. And I think there's a huge chunk of people out there who believe that other people have it better than they do. And I think at the end of the day, we're not better than anyone, and no one's better than us. And I think I'd probably leave it with that.
Where is Mike Smith in 5 years? Where do you see yourself? Like, what's the journey looking like?
I think, the thing that is really interesting to me is I love trying to build and create things. And so as we grow and the Bay continues to evolve, I would love to have that in as many cities as possible. But I'm really excited about the work I'm doing with Find Your Grind and the company that we created. And I really think that has the potential to be something that is really progressive in the education space, because it's literally bringing the real world to the classroom, and it's making teachers' jobs as easy as saying, go watch this and go interact with this and go, pay attention to this. And so I really want to build Find Your Grind over the next 5 years. And I think that as far as like companies go and projects I'm working on, Find Your Grind and then the Bay is forever. That's the rest of my life. But Find Your Grind is something that I think is really new and exciting for me, because I think it's checking a lot of boxes that schools need, and that gets me stoked. And so I want to see how big I can grow that.
How do people stay in contact with you?
If you can spell Mike Smith, you can find me on anything.
Yeah.
Mike Smith Live is the official social handle, but if you just Google Mike Smith, you'll find it. And there's a lot of us out there, but I'm closer to the top, I think, than
You're the
some.
one with the tattoos and the skateboard. and
Literally,
the hair.
yeah. There's like that one. Yeah.
There's that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're Mike Smith, but you're not typical, man. You're not average. You're freaking
I appreciate
awesome.
that. Thanks, man.
for hanging out, man.
course,
Appreciate it.
man.
And we're gonna do some
Appreciate it.
stuff together.
I know we are.
We're gonna do stuff together.
I'm trying to move to Vancouver, dude. That place is cool.
It's it's one of my faves. I'll be there next week.
It's
Freaking love
awesome.
It. Yeah.
It's like a little bit of Europe and a little bit of Colorado, but way cooler than both.
And you got the ocean, you got the mountains.
I
you got
know,
it all.
dude. It's all of it. It's so
Yeah,
cool.
And a cool lifestyle. International, right? Everything's there.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I got a tattoo that says the future belongs to the misfits, and I let a high school kid give me that tattoo in his garage while his principal was looking. It was like one of the coolest tattoo stories that I've
nervous?
got. I wasn't nervous. He was terrified. Like his hand was shaking, and
Yeah.
his principal was like, "No, you got it!" Like cheering him on.
Yeah. Like,
But
what font
yeah.
is this?
Oh yeah,
It's
totally.
called
Yeah.
Scared.
I was like,
My
just
font is
yeah, exactly.